Healthcare Exposed with SR Ridley, a nurse you can trust. So let's not talk about the new nurses. Let's end this talking about the token charge nurses, to show me the money charge nurses, because I don't want the new graduate nurses to think that they're just the only problem, because they're not. So there's this one charge nurse. She's been a nurse for maybe 30-something years. Okay, she works the night shift, and they put this house. The house is a symbol right up here that shows you that you're ready to go home. That's what the house is. I had a true story. I had a 16-year-old young lady who came in. She had a fever of 103.8, and for all you know, the normal body temperature range is between 98.6. You go up 1, down 1, right? Usually over 101 in the hospital, 101 and above, we consider you to have a fever. This particular young lady, I had given a sedative called Ativan, real powerful, and she's 16, so she's what we call naive to these kind of medications, which means that it takes it has a more intense effect on her. So she could barely walk. The doctor put the house up, right? They discharged. Bang, you can go home. You know why? The doctor puts the house up because you've hit your time quota, okay? They have a time quota in the ER where they have to get you out, right? Don't forget, they came around and got your copay first, right? So she was supposed to get IV fluid. I showed you IV fluid. More importantly, before you discharge a patient home, you have to do vital signs. So the charge nurse, this particular charge nurse, didn't speak to me. I come in the room, I'm like, what are you doing? She took the IV out, which is this patient's right now, her lifeline, okay? Because I need to give her fluid and medication. She didn't do vital signs. She took her off the monitor. The monitor is this device here that shows me your blood pressure, your oxygenation, and your heart rate. She's 16, people. Her heart rate was 142, between 138 and 142. See, when you have a fever, part of the process of the body to fight the fever is your body naturally increases your heart rate because your body's fighting more. She took the IV out. She had the discharge instructions. She's getting ready to discharge my patient. She had done one vital sign. So it's not just the new graduates. So I looked at her and I said, again, what are you doing? She says, oh, well, the doctor put up the discharge instructions, so the discharge house, so I'm going to send her home. I said, you sent her, did you do it? Did you take her vital signs? So I did it right in front of her. 103.5. And the girl was so sedated, she was completely just asleep from the medication. She was going to send her patient home with a fever of 103.5. 103.5, and a heart rate in the 140s. This is what your token charge nurse, show me money. I told you, all they care about is getting you in and getting you out by any means necessary. That 16-year-old, she wouldn't have made it out of the hospital because she was too sedated. She was too sleepy. But suppose she was going to put her in a wheelchair and roll her out sick like that. She could have had a seizure. So what's a seizure? A seizure is a disruption in your brain activity where things are just kind of moving and going and haywire. She could have had a seizure. She could have had a negative event, and this charge nurse did not care because she is what I call a soulless individual, and she needs to retire. Another charge nurse, now she works at she teaches at a big name school, big name. This particular charge nurse has completely lost her soul. She's forgotten the nurse and the charge nurse. When you come into the emergency room, you should not be penalized because you have a psychiatric condition. Young lady came into the ER, true story, and this is where we're going to end. True story. She came into the emergency room complaining that she was going to kill herself. She was going to kill herself, okay? So they did the assessment, and we're going to do another whole show because that's chapter 9 in the book that saved millions, okay? But So they were discharging her home inappropriately. So she was getting dressed. Remember, she's depressed. She wants to kill herself, so she's not moving fast. And they had her in a hallway bed. Everybody, word to the wise, in the state of Maryland, it is illegal to put a psychiatric patient in a hallway bed. Not only is it inhumane, it is illegal. It is against the state. But this particular hospital, and all hospitals, they do it. So this patient finally got dressed. Do you know the charge nurse, she yelled at her. And when I say yelled, I mean she screamed across the entire emergency room. She yelled and she chased her out into the emergency bay. So what's the point? Why is the emergency bay? What is an emergency bay? The emergency bay is where the ambulance come in. Now, have you ever seen an ambulance when they come in? Sometimes they come in with their lights and sirens. They're moving fast. They are not expecting a patient to walk out. And this patient was of a darker hue, and it was midnight. It was after midnight. She sent a patient, forced a patient, yelling and screaming. She said, "Get out of my ER." True story. I'm telling you, I know you think I'm making it up, but I am not. This particular highly educated charge nurse who works at a big name hospital, told the patient, I apologize, to get out of her emergency room. Now, I don't know about you, but in this faith-based hospital, it has a name. I'm not going to say it, but it has a name. When did it become her hospital? I'm just trying to ask a question. When did it become and why did she devalue that patient's life? She intentionally tried to kill that patient because she knows that patient could go out into that emergency bay, an ambulance could come flying around the corner with its lights and not see her in the dark and kill her. Why would she do that? So how can you stay safe? There's something that I call the 3 Ps: promote, provide, and protect, okay? So you're going to ask that question. You're going to ask the question when you go back to your room. Does my nurse know I am in the room? Have you told my nurse that I am in the room? And you're going to ask the person for their name, okay? That is going to ensure that they even know you're in your room. And then you are going to ask to see the back of all medications, because there is a medication that they give 1-year-olds all the way up to 10-year-olds the wrong way, against the safety regulations of the manufacturer. It says bolded on the medication to only give this way, and they give it to the child right in front of the patient and the mother and the father without the knowledge. And they don't know if this medication is called ADHD, or if this medication causes autism or any other kind of negative difficulty concentrating. The problem is, sometimes these problems don't manifest for years, and you won't know as a patient and as a mother or a father, and it's not fair. So when I tell you that these 2 items are your lifesavers, these 2 items are for you to live your best life. But since I started this episode, because this new graduate, we had a long conversation this morning, she also says something else. She said, "What is your end point?" My end point is to educate you, the people, to show you how you can stay safe, how at the back of each chapter there are questions for you to ask to maintain your safety. And then in chapter 10, when you don't get those questions asked, I show you step by step how we can resurrect a healthcare with a conscience. Because if you think you're safe in today's emergency rooms, you are not. And because I do care about the new graduate nurses, I'm going to tell you a true story, and this is the end. True story. Down in Texas, there was a nurse who drew up a medication called Ativan. Doesn't matter what the medication is. And she drew it up and she gave it to another nurse to give. So when I say draw up a medication, it's this. They put it in here. They drew up the medicine, and they handed the nurse the medication. So the nurse, the medication that she didn't draw up, she gave the medication, which means she pushed it. Okay. I don't know where the disconnect was, because she gave too much medication to the patient and the patient died. Now, who did they fire? They should, now, this isn't fair, but they fired the nurse who drew up the medication. We're gonna broach this subject in the next episode. Thank you so much for returning, and I hope you learned something and ask the question, answer at the bottom of the comments. The comments come at the bottom after all of the videos that you see. Do you feel safe in today's emergency room? Thank you once again. I'm SR Ridley, and this is Truth Hour, Healthcare Exposed. Be back next week for today's nurse practitioner is a joke. Thank you.
Thank you, and see you next Wednesday for Truth Hour, Healthcare Exposed. And don't forget to click that button now and subscribe, comment, share, and like. And then I, SR Ridley, a nurse you can trust, want you to get mad and hashtag My Life Matters and let healthcare know that you are not going to take it anymore. Because in healthcare, all lives matter. Are you safe in today's ERs? Next Wednesday.